Boyga Papa, good to see you, Helen Maura. Good to see you, Martin. Bebetu. Invite someone. Hi, Sally. Hi, Joyce Fields. Good to see you, my friend. Invite someone. Good to see you, Maureen. Rosebell, good to see you. Invite someone. Tag a friend. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Invite someone. I'm gonna continue. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Godfrey, Geoffrey, Masemaina, Susan Gable. Thank you so much for joining. I'll give you a minute to invite someone. Hi, Susan. Hi, Regina. Thank you so much for joining. Hi, Bilo. Good to see you. Invite someone. Invite someone, tag a friend. Hi Moreno, good to see you. I hope you can understand that language. Regina, thank you. I'm glad you have the book. Turn to page 19. That's where we are starting today. Hi, Karen Diona. Good to see you. Thank you so much for everyone that's joined. Invite someone, it's not too late. Tag a friend. Tag anyone who is married and who is single. Tag a family member. Kamau, I see you. Thank you so much for joining. Whoo, that's good music. I love that song. I hope you're blessed. Thank you so much. Thank you, Naomi Francis. I see you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to have your company. And I pray that your week was good, that you're blessed, you're still staying healthy, you're protecting yourself. Corona is still here, but God is still here as well. You know, He got it all in control. So thank you so much for joining. If you don't mind to tag one more person. Thank you Edith Karaoke. I see you tagging people. Thank you Sarah Irongo. Thank you for joining. So we're gonna continue. Karen Shi, I see you. So I'm gonna continue with what we started last week. If you are not here, we started with this book because October is usually Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so we are working on keeping violence out of our homes, kicking it out if it's there, staying free from violence, because that's what we were supposed to live like, all right? We are not supposed to be slapped and kicked and abused in any way. That's not why we were created. And so if it's there, we gotta get it out. If it's not there, we're gonna make sure it's not gonna come in, because domestic violence is a monster. It is a monster, and we better call it like it is. So I've gone through it, and that's why I feel like I have some info to give you, and it's an ugly monster, and you don't want to be caught up in it. You don't want it to catch you. And one way you can avoid that from happening is by educating yourself, is by being aware. What is it anyway? What brings it about? What causes it? How can I stay away from it? And that way you remain free. And trust me, you want to remain free of any kind of violence, you know, especially domestic violence, because that's the beginning of all mess in childhood and everywhere, everything. And so I've written a book about my story. I went through it. I went into a marriage expecting to live happily ever after, like in the movies, like in the fairy tales, but it didn't happen for me. And it has happened a lot more to other people that you know and that I know, that they have gone into a marriage and it didn't end up the way they wanted it to. So these things happen. They don't just happen to other people out there. I used to hear it, but I didn't think it could happen to me until it did. And so I wish I knew more about it when it came to me. But because I didn't, I suffered way more than I was supposed to suffer. And so that's why, whether you are in it, whether you have experienced it, whether you have ever heard of it, it's very important for you to be aware of what it is and how you can protect yourself from it. And so thank you, Jen Kuria, Hannah Sakuda, Tom Mose, Rose Wainaina, thank you so much. Charles Jogona, thank you so much for everyone that's joining. Thank you for tagging people, Rose Wainaina. I appreciate that. And so I've written my book, a book about my story. That's why the title says My Story, My Power, because this is my testimony. You have your own testimony. It might not be about domestic violence, but you have testimonies, things that God has pulled you out of, and you can testify about that. Now, this is my story, and this is my power. I started on it, and now I can teach people from what I learned out of this book. And so last week, we started on it, and I told you about my happy beginning. And that was where I came from. That was where I was born. That was my upbringing, my family, my mom and her story about domestic violence as well, and how she escaped, and how I finally finished the chapter by telling you how I landed in America, how I got the opportunity to come to America, right? So now today, I wanted to go to the next chapter, and I named, it was in the book, it's called The First Encounter. You might not be able to see because of my lighting. It's called The First Encounter. So if you have the book, turn to page 19, we can read together. If you have questions, write them down. If I see it during the show, I will answer it. If I don't see it, I'll answer it afterwards. So I will continue. I'll read 2 chapters. So I'll not be able to mention your names, but I will read first. So just pay attention, and then we'll discuss those 2 chapters afterwards. So my first encounter, this is how I met this guy, right? And the circumstances that led to that. And so here it starts. I landed in Birmingham, Alabama. Life in America started well. Then culture shock set in. I was lucky to have had very gracious hosts who taught me the do's and don'ts of the new land. I quickly realized that USA was very different from my homeland, and my homeland is Kenya. I come from Kenya. For instance, in Kenya, a personal car was a luxury. Most people took public transport to and from work, but in America, a car was as necessary as a place to live, if not more. I also needed official paperwork like Social Security card and driver's license to even apply for a job. These were unheard of back in Kenya. It took a while for me to acquire the documents and then to find work. Now, the only person I knew in this country was Jay. And so I'm introducing another character, and I need you to know these characters. I have changed their names for their own sake, because it's not about them, it's about the story reaching to you. So there's nobody called Jay, but I have changed their name. So the only person I knew in this country was Jay, also a Kenyan. My boss back home had introduced us a couple of years prior. Jay had been in America for a while, and at this point, and for about a year, we communicated through emails and phone calls. I fell for him hard. But when he found a girlfriend in America, he quit calling and writing. Yeah, right? So even at this, he and his roommates let me live with them in America until I could get myself established. So thank God for that. One day, a new friend and I stopped in a grocery store. It was there that I met Rex. Now, Rex, in this story, is my ex-husband. His name is not Rex, so don't go looking for Rex. Now, later, that day, he called the friend I was with and asked for my phone number. Sometimes later, he called me, but I could not recall meeting him. He explained how I had met him in a store where he worked. Then he offered to give me a ride if I ever needed one. I thanked him, hung up, and put him out of my mind. I did not think twice about him, for I was focused on getting a stable job, a car, a place to live. My goals were set. Even at that, I didn't mind having him as a friend, but I was too busy building my life in America to even consider any serious relationship. About 3 months after my arrival in the States, I wanted out of Jay's apartment. Though we had broken up before I had arrived in America, I still had feelings for him. Staying with him was made even more difficult by his girlfriend's regular visits. Each time she came by, it felt like I was being stabbed in the chest. I needed to get out of this place where my feelings were being hurt every day and no one seemed to notice. Those are my personal issues, right? Now, through a friend, I found a lady who needed a roommate. I still had not landed a job, but she allowed me to move in while I continued to look for a job. I was more than ready to move out of Jay's place. I didn't have much to carry, just 2 suitcases of clothes. Whew, finally, my misery was over. Now, my new roommate, a beautiful Kenyan lady, was nice to me from the first meeting, which she showed me around the apartment. We agreed on what bills we could share as soon as I get a job. Everything sounded acceptable. On the second night at her place, her ex-boyfriend came by. I introduced myself to him and we all spent the big part of the night chatting and watching TV. I was starting to feel at home. Eventually, I attained the necessary documents and found my first job at Olive Garden. For those who don't know what that is, it's a restaurant, Italian restaurant in America, probably in other parts of the world, but in America. So, which proved to be the hardest job I have ever done. With my British English, I could not pronounce the names of the foods on the menu. This frustrated not only myself, but my boss, but also my customers. I was not on salary, but so tips were the only money I got to take home. I would get $2 and at most $10 a day. And I soon realized that my dream to become a millionaire was far-fetched while working in Olive Garden. A little later, I got a job as a cashier at Walmart Supercenter. That's a supermarket. That job was much easier, even though it was still challenging for customers to understand me. They complained that my accent was too thick, right? Anyway, sometimes when they asked a question I did not know how the answer to, I paged the manager to answer them. A few people thought my ignorance was funny, but others were annoyed and muttered unkind words, which in time I learned to ignore. Those are the struggles of the new lad. Now I worked at 2 p.m. I worked at 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift, at 2 p.m. to the 2 p.m. shift. Now 2 p.m. during the day to night, 10 p.m. Still, without a car, I had to depend on the goodwill of my few friends for rides. Since my shift started in the middle of the day, it was difficult to find anyone who was free at that time. Luckily, my roommate's ex shift ended at 1 p.m. and he was always available to drop me off to work and sometimes pick me up. After 4 months, I still had not saved enough money to buy a car. If you're thinking of coming to America, brace yourself. Now, 4 months, I have not saved money to buy a car. I depended mostly on the kindness of others who gave me rides to and from work. One day, I was stranded at home and I had 30 minutes to get to work and I couldn't find anyone to give me a ride. And it was then I remembered Rex and his offer. I called and asked him for help, which he willingly obliged. During the ride to work, I got to know a little about him. When we arrived, he asked if I would go out with him. Until this time, he was the only guy I had met who wasn't married or in a serious relationship. He wasn't bad looking and seemed quite funny. I thought about it for about 3 seconds and I said yes. I walked into my workplace excited about my new friend. Even though the idea of going out with a guy sounded good, I was not looking for a serious relationship and marriage was not anywhere in my mind. By then I had my share of relationship issues within the first few months in the promised land, meaning America. So I had decided to lay low for a while and focus on my goals. It wasn't long before my roommate's ex told me that he was interested in me and wanted us to date. I appreciate your kindness, but since you are my roommate's ex, I cannot date you. I told him, but he didn't stop asking, and he blamed my roommate for ordering me not to date him. When she learned of this, she was furious at the false accusation. She surprised me when she said, "Please date him. I owe him a lot, and if you date him, he won't be upset with me." "What does he owe you?" I asked. "It's too complicated to go into. Just date him." I told her, look, I'm not going to date your ex. It just doesn't seem right. Besides, I'm not looking for a relationship at this time. I remember that day like it was yesterday. About a week and a half later, all hell broke loose. One night, when I was in his car, he was taking me home from work when I received a text from my roommate. I left the key. She's talking. I left the key. She was talking to me. She said, I left the key, the house key, under the mat outside the door. Please pack all your belongings and get out of my house. Make sure you put the key back under the mat before you leave. I got kicked out, in short, right? Now, hot tears rolled down my cheeks. Oh my goodness, what was happening? Why? Where do I go? Realizing my distress, he asked what was wrong. I handed him the phone. He tried to call her after reading the text, but she didn't pick up. I felt totally lost. After consoling me, he took me to pick up my clothes. Then we went to the Purple Onion restaurant in Homewood, where he bought me dinner. I could not eat anything. My head was throbbing with questions and concerns. Without any warning, I was homeless and carless. I had a minimum wage job. How could I support myself? How was I going to make it? I contemplated going to Kenya, returning to Kenya, but I had emptied my bank accounts and sold my business before I left for the States. That's where you hit rock bottom. Just leave me here and I'll figure out what to do, I said. I'm not leaving you out here. There's a vacant room in the 3-bedroom house I share with my cousin. I'm sure she won't mind you staying there until you're stable enough to make it on your own. I still thank God for him to this day. He was helpful and respectful to me. Now, I was torn into pieces when I later learned that my name was being dragged throughout the Kenyan community in Birmingham, and I was labeled a boyfriend snatcher. Not just by my former roommate, but also by Jay's girlfriend. How could I argue with them? How could I fight them? How could I convince people that this was a lie and I was not interested in anyone's boyfriend? I realized then that it takes only 1 or 2 people with an evil heart and a big mouth to ruin your reputation. Every day, rumors smear and defame the characters of many innocent people. I chose silence as the best answer to the false allegations. I ignored the gossip and kept on living. I remained there for 4 months. Then I got a better paying job at a rehab center, bought a used car and moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with a female friend and workmate in Homewood, Alabama. After all that drama, I was afraid to even talk to any man, especially a Kenyan. But when I confirmed that Rex was truly single, I was fine with having him as a friend. After all, he seemed to understand and see my innocence. He failed me. Now, Rex and I eventually went out for our first date. A dinner and a movie. I liked that he shared my love for watching movies. We had a lot of laughs when we were together. I enjoyed being with him. As far as I was concerned, we were just casual friends. One day, he asked me to go out of state for a weekend with him and a couple of his friends. I was thrilled by the offer. At last, I would get to see some other parts of America. The weekend came that we were to leave. Rex picked me up at my apartment. The road trip to Charlotte, North Carolina was fun. We had a chance to ride a boat on Lake Wylie, enjoyed a beautiful Daniel Stowe Botanical Garden, and did much more. When Rex brought me back home, we turned the corner to my apartment block. We were shocked to find the building wrapped in bright yellow tape with the words, "Police line, do not close." I hope you're still with me. Give me thumbs up, give me thumbs up if I should continue. So, that is how I met Rex. I hope you've been listening so you can give me thumbs up so I know we are together. So, that's our meeting. That's how we met. That's how we started. Thank you, Vero. Thank you for the thumbs up. Now, that's one chapter I was gonna read, and now I'm gonna read the second one and how we came to stay together. Thank you so much for the thumbs up. I'm glad you are following. Now, I'm gonna read about chapter 3. It's called Common Law Marriage, or Come We Stay Arrangement. That's on page 27 if you have the book. Now, on the apartment, remember the last chapter ended with the police tape around the apartment. And so now this is a continuation. One of the apartments on my block had caught fire, and even though the firefighters had come on time to keep the damage to a minimum, the AC system needed to be replaced for the whole block. The leasing office said it would take approximately 2 weeks to install a new one. No one was allowed in until the new system was installed. I was lost, not knowing where I would go for the next 2 weeks. As I was trying to come up with a plan, I decided to call a girlfriend from my village I had just met. But before I could call her, Rex suggested I stay with him while I waited. I knew it was a bad idea since I didn't know him well, but I agreed because I felt like saying no would hurt his feelings, especially after giving me such a fun weekend. So I agreed to his offer. We picked up a few of my belongings and off we went to his apartment. I was happy he volunteered, but I also knew for 2 weeks I would be a temporary wife. But what better way to know him? What better way to get to know him better than staying with him? At least this is how I convinced myself. Excuses, right? Now, the guy clearly showed me that he loved and cared for me. He complimented me on and literally worshipped everything I did and I was. He would go on and on about my beauty, how proud he was for winning a jackpot. He called it a jackpot. He praised my cooking and my cleaning skills. His attention and affirmation felt good, like a balloon full of helium sailing in the air. With that kind of validation, it wasn't hard to fall for him. He worked 2 jobs and had only Sundays off. I loved that he worked hard and was not a party person. At least he wasn't then. When he was off work, we talked a lot. I learned about his childhood and upbringing as he learned about mine. He did some things in his adolescence years that were as serious as committing minor crimes. I was young and stupid, but that was then and I know better now, so he said. I thought about how we all have all done irresponsible things in our early years that we are not proud of today. And so I overlooked his misdeeds. Looking back, I should have ran away. But on the surface, everything seemed to be going well. I called my leasing office 2 weeks later to check on the status of moving back in. I was greatly disappointed to learn that the apartment wasn't ready yet. When I told Rex this, he looked straight into my eye and said, "Why don't we get married?" Get married? I was surprised by the quick decision. I wasn't ready for it. I was fine with him being a boyfriend to talk to and, you know, do things with like other big girls and boys. My gut screamed, no! I was about to break my own rule of avoiding anything serious other than focusing on my goals. Another part of me said that he seemed like a good guy. What if I walked away from him and someone else stepped in? My mind was shooting questions to my spirit, which insisted on saying no. I knew it was not right, but where could I go from here? Who would take me in after all the gossip that had gone around? Then I learned that my roommate had decided to marry her longtime boyfriend, which meant I didn't have a roommate and I couldn't afford the rent by myself. Rex's idea sounded like a good idea at the time. I said yes to his proposal and he gave me a second-hand ring and I was on cloud 9. Looking back now, I see that I acted really desperate to accept something that was below what I believed I deserved. Soon after we started living together, Rex's dad took ill and died shortly after. This loss broke Rex. I did my best to comfort and stand by him. I mourned with him, and after a few months of grieving, he started to heal from his loss. About 6 months after we started living together, I asked Rex, what is next for our relationship? I wanted to know if he was serious about marriage or if he was just looking for some fun. Woo. We're gonna read up to that place today. You can hear that. Give me thumbs up. Show me we've been together the whole time. I feel so naked right now, sharing my foolishness, foolish decisions right now. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Vero. Thank you so much that you've been with me the whole time. But I'm glad I made those mistakes so you don't have to. I'm glad I made those stupid decisions so you don't have to. So as you can hear, there's so much in those 2 chapters that we can learn from. I haven't seen any questions. You can still go ahead and ask, but we're gonna look into those 2. We're gonna look into those 2 chapters. Thank you, Helen. I need encouragement right now because looking back, I feel like how when we don't know better, we do stupid things. We do things we shouldn't do. But then it goes with your wisdom level, what you know at that moment and what you believe about yourself, the level of your brokenness, what is it available for you, and we sometimes settle because of where we are. Thank you, Regina. Yes, we learn from our mistakes. So now, what I want us to look at is some of the things that really stood out for me. Looking back, even as it is my own story, looking back, what really contributed to all this? You know, I wanted to point out, especially the moment of transitions. As you can hear, I'm coming from Kenya, I'm coming to a new land, America, where I only know one person. And this person was kind enough to be with me, to give me a place to stay. But then there are so many things. There are so many things that surround each places of transition. Yes, it's naive. It's naive, stupid. It's borderline, right? It looks stupid backwards when you look back. But naive, timid, man, you don't want to make serious decisions when you're in that state. Now, when you're moving into a new location, when you're going into a new job, be it a marriage, you're new in that territory, be it a church, you move into a new church. Now, you you have to learn there are new rules, there are new laws, unwritten. Usually they are unwritten. You don't know. And sometimes no one holds your hand to tell you this is the way things are done here. I was lucky to have this Fred and his roommates who showed me some things about the new land. But now, there's so much more that I needed to know. And the people that were along my way, some of them were not God sent. They were sent by the other dude, the enemy. Because when you are in a new area, you don't have a footing, you don't have a stable stance. You can't start strong because you are tempting. It's like you are crossing a river, and there are little stones protruding where you have to jump from one to another. And you're not sure if that stone can hold your weight. And so everything you tap, you kind of tap. You tap on the stones. Thank you, Martin. Thank you guys for the encouragement. I need that. I need it. I didn't know I was gonna feel like that. So when you're in a new place, be it a new job, be it a new location, maybe you move from your homeland into another country, even moved from the village to the city, moved from one city to another. It's an area of transition. And these are very, very tricky places. And if we are not careful, this is a place where the enemy can use to put the wrong people along the way. And if you land on the wrong group of people, they can lead you astray. Now, the prayer we should pray, anytime you are changing possessions, anytime you are changing location, changing a job, any change can throw you off. And what we should pray is, God, bring the right people in my path. Remove the wrong people away from my path. Close the wrong doors, because there are doors that will open when you're in that new place. And the intention is for the devil to take you and waste some of your time trying to figure out what you are doing. So we pray for God to close the wrong doors and open only the right ones. We pray for God to move the wrong people off the path and only bring the right people that He has ordained to take us from one level to another. And even at that, we really have to seek God. We really need to ask God for His guidance. Remember, His word is the light to our path. And His word is our light and salvation, right? He is our light and salvation. And so He will cover you. He will surround you with His angels. He will be your light. And so you will be able to see where you are stepping. Because you are surrounded by people you don't know. You're surrounded by people you cannot trust. And some people will take advantage of your ignorance. Some people will use you. Some people will mislead you. So anytime you are transitioning, anytime you are moving from one place to another, anytime you are moving from one job to another, it is very important to really seek God and ask God, please lead me. Please order my steps. Because there's no way you can know your way around a new place. You will find people and you won't know who to trust. Because like you can hear in my story, this girl invited me to stay with her, and I tell her straight in her face, I cannot date your boyfriend. And she now goes around and starts spreading rumors, oh, I snatched her boyfriend. So there'll be people who will be set, and you won't know who to trust, because going there in her apartment, I was just going there trying to look for a way to get stable. And so you will step on the wrong things. Sometimes you'll meet the wrong people, and you can't really help it. But only God can keep you from trouble. I am so grateful, because even at that, God has brought me to where I am. Because it was so much, especially when your name starts treading around in the midst of people, and it's treading in a negative light, and you had no intention of anything you're being accused of. It's very hard. It's very, very hard. And people do that all the time. Just because they don't like you, they take your name and trash it. and use your name anyhow they want. People, just because they don't like you. And you don't need to like me, but don't spread lies about me. So we have to be very careful. Anytime we go into a new place, you will find people that are not God sent. In fact, they will lay traps on your path. They are sent to distract you. Because anytime God moves you from one place to another, especially if it's God that moved you. I know it's God that moved me from Kenya to here. But then the enemy put traps using people. The enemy does not have legs or hands that he can use to get you. He uses people, okay? And so he will use people to set traps, to stand in your way and misguide you, do things that are against what you are meant to do and to be. And so now, thank God, and I'm glad, sometimes the best thing you can do when people accuse you wrongly is to just be quiet. Let God fight your battles for you. You cannot really fight. I didn't even know who to trust at the moment. So I just went quiet. I cried it off. When I went to sleep, I cried it off. And somehow I got strength to walk, to keep walking. And I kept on living, no matter who was looking. And people would look at me funny. And I was like, you know what? You do what you want to do. I'll do me. And so you have to learn to ignore people, especially if you know you are innocent. Ignore what people are saying. Ignore what people are thinking. You'll be trapped. You'll be stopped. People will stop you from moving forward if you pay attention to what they are saying. If you pay attention to what they are thinking about you. And so I will still go to church with the same people who are spreading rumors about me. And I said, I will not miss church because they are doing this. I will not miss to go to work because one of them, I worked with them. And at work, she had already spread the gossip. And so I still had to go to work and face her every day. I was working. And so it was a very difficult time. And as you can see, some of those things that I went through, I needed someone that would listen to me. I needed a friend. And I know part of why I fell for this guy, Rex, is because he was a friend. He was a good friend. He seemed to understand that this is a lie. He seemed to be on my side. And he seemed to tell me, listen, they don't worry what they are saying. And so he gave me a shoulder to cry on. But then even though he did that, it didn't mean we were supposed to be together. Sometimes we take the wrong ideas when people are sent to our life. And so now maybe he was supposed to come into my life to be a shoulder for me to lean on during that difficult time. Now, when we move on from there and we see how it came to a place where I moved in with him, you can tell, you can see it was not even something we planned. It's not even something we got to a place and decided, let's stay together. Let's get married. This is a circumstance that caused it to happen. And even though we were good friends, we were around each other, we were hanging out, we were, doing fun stuff together, it had not come to that point. It probably would not have if we stayed outside each other's life and dated for a while. Because I would have probably known, yeah, you're good as a good friend, but not as a husband. Or he would have noticed, I am a good girl to hang out with, but not as a wife. But then when we take these circumstances and let them use them the way I did, trust me, it's a mistake. And I really hope by me opening my heart like I am, by me opening up about my story, that is going to help someone who is about to make a critical decision, so you will not make a decision based on the wrong motive. Because now you heard me say how when he proposed, I knew full well this is the wrong thing to do. Run, girl. Don't even think about it. You should have said no, like capital no, to to the marriage proposal. But then, remember, I was naive, I was timid, and then I had my insecurities. And I'm thinking, 3 fears I had. Oh, what if I say no and I hurt his feelings? Do you see that? Do you see that? And I'm opening my timidity so you can use it in your own case. So you can see how we make mistakes because of something very minor. Because now I'm thinking I'll hurt his feelings. And so I take a very serious decision in my own hands just so I don't hurt his feelings. And I ignore the voice of God within me screaming no. I choose to disobey that voice of God within me so I can please this guy. I paid dearly for that. Another thing, I was afraid, oh, he's nice, he's cute, and now what if another woman comes and snatches him? What if another woman comes and he likes her, and now I'm buying time here saying, oh, I don't know you enough. What if another woman comes in and takes him? And he's the only guy I know that is single and not in a relationship. I say, okay, that's a risk. You see the kind of fears I'm dealing with. And now, the last fear, and another stupid fear, is I'm 28. Was I 28 going to 29? And I'm looking at my biological clock and I'm like, oof, it's time to settle down. Whew, if I let this one go, by the time I get another one, and then I get to date him, and I get to know him, and then we decide to go into marriage, man, I'll be over 30. I can't be over 30 without being married. Trust me. Don't even think about making such a decision because of age. Because you will go into a miserable situation and age will still be age. It won't help you. So I want you to learn from my mistakes. I looked at me not hurting his feelings. I looked at him being taken by another woman. And I looked at my age. And I said, I'm ripe. I'm ripe for marriage. It's time for me to settle down. And so I don't want to waste time waiting around. I'll take what I have and I'll make use of it. Now, most of you know how much I paid. And we'll get to the book, how long and how much I paid for that disobedience, for that timidity, for that naivety. So, men, especially if you're single right now and you're looking at your time and you're thinking, man, I need to get married. All my age mates are married. Listen, that's not a thing you can rush, because you can rush into it and then enjoy misery the rest of your life. There are so many, they might not tell you, but there are so many people in that position of misery, misery, misery. There is hell on earth. And part of this hell, I experienced it because I went somewhere I was not supposed to be. Just because I was looking at the time, I was looking to please a human being and not to please God. Trust me. Be sure this is the person that God has for you. Be sure, because when there's God's grace on it, when there's God's grace on a marriage or a relationship, you don't feel the weight of it. Even when the person has issues, God has given you grace to deal with it. But when you go with your own insecurities, when you go because it's against time, when you go because there's pressure in the society, your family and parents are asking you, how old are you, man? All your age mates are married. They have children. Don't make that mistake. Because trust me, you will regret it. There are so many right now, millions, regretting the choice they made in who they married. We really, really have to seek God in that. Because after all, He's the one that knows us. He's the one that knows our tomorrow. He's the one that knows where we are going. And he's the one that knows who can accompany us in that journey. Now, the last point I want to point to is be aware of marriage of convenience. This is a serious, serious issue. There are so many people who get married, like I did, because, oh, my roommate moved on. She got married, and now I don't have a roommate. How am I going to afford? There are so many things looking back I would have done differently, but I didn't know better. And so I did that whatever I did. Now, the thing is, now that I did that and I know better, I can tell you, marriage of convenience is not good for you. Because now, even if you marry this person because you have a financial need, or you marry this person because you got pregnant, and now you want to raise this kid with this guy, and you feel the best way to do this is by getting married, yet you know within your heart this is not the right thing to do, but you're afraid of what will people say when they know I'm pregnant outside wedlock. How will I don't want to be a single mom. I don't want to be, listen, man, you put yourself in a much deeper trouble trying to avoid what people will say. And when you get in that trouble and you're enjoying misery by yourself, you're crying every night, then you will feel very foolish when you look back and realize the kind of decision that led you there. Because that's what happened to me when I was in it and I was suffering day in, day out. And now I look back and I realize, man, how stupid I was to even think that I can come into this and make it work. Listen, pregnancy is not enough reason to get married. The motive by which you go to get married, if it's pregnancy, just because you got pregnant, you are doing something you had no business doing with someone you had no business doing it with, and now you find yourself you are pregnant, then let me tell you, the solution to that is not marriage. Still, sit down, if possible, and if the other person is mature enough, sit down together and decide the best way forward. You can also get that child and raise the kid separately, but don't commit into a marriage just because of that. Because you will find that, especially if you don't know this person very well. And now because something happened and you got married, you got pregnant, then you decide that's the best way forward. It's a wrong idea. It's the wrong motive. Now, because life is easier because of financial help, that's another inconvenience. Someone has been nice to you and you feel like you owe them, that's another problem. Don't get married because of that. Or because you say, oh, she's beautiful, oh, he's handsome. Trust me, when you get in that marriage and all hell breaks loose, you will not see their beauty, you will not see how handsome they were, you will be stuck with that person. Now, all these things I mentioned are the wrong foundations to an institution called marriage. And if you go there, any building that doesn't have the right foundation is bound to collapse. Now listen, as you can hear, for me, I went in there with the wrong motive, even though my motive in my heart was to make a home, but the foundation was fear, insecurities, both on my side and his side, because he said the same things I said. What if I lose you? And I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to be lost. He's nice. He likes me. He had his own fears of losing me. I had my own fears of losing him. And now we made a decision to come into a marriage, but then that was not the right foundation. Listen, there's so much that goes into foundation, and the building is as strong as the foundation. So the marriage that was built on the wrong foundation, that's why I'm telling you the things to avoid. The things about being pregnant, Oh, you need financial help. Oh, someone has been good. Oh, someone is cute. All those are the wrong foundations to build a marriage from. And at some point, even though some of us hold on to it so hard so it won't break, you live a very miserable life in that marriage. Because you know in your heart that that's not what you desired. Let me tell you what. There's a reason God created marriage. And now, I'm speaking from someone who failed miserably in it. But I picked some lessons from it. And someone who has never gotten married, and you're looking at married people and thinking, oh man, lucky them. Listen, don't rush into making that decision. It's not always as it seems. It's not always as it seems. As you can hear, there's so much trouble in marriages these days. Because sometimes we married for the wrong reasons. Sometimes the foundation is wrong. It's messed up. And now we have to worry about holding it together with our own strength. Because God is not in it. He tried to reteach you. Don't. Because the voice within you is the voice of God. And anytime you disobey that voice, then you're on your own. And even if God will help you in the wrong land, you will suffer so much trying to hold it together. My throat is dry. So I came to realize something about marriage. You see, like how we have 3 birds. We have chicken, we have crows, and we have eagles. By that I mean chicken are ground animals. They are ground birds. They feed on the ground, they stay on the ground, they were born here, they hatched here, and they die here on the ground level. Crows, they go to a certain height. And eagles, they are the kings of the air. They are known as kings of the air because they go to heights, higher heights. Now, the reason why it's very important to know ourselves before we get married is because you need to know, what am I? Is my papa supposed to be on the ground, on the crow level, or on the eagle level? Who am I? And God tells us this by what he puts in our hearts. Because when people who are big dreamers, those are the ones I'm calling eagles. The big dreamers, these are mindset. I'm not calling people chicken and crows. I'm talking about mindset. The mindset that chicken mindset is the person that thinks that all I need to do is go to school, finish school, get married, and make a home right here. I don't need to do anything up there. That has its owners. And they are supposed to be there. Every level need people. So, but then be sure that your level is this before you hook up with someone who is in this level. Because if you're meant to be an eagle and you're supposed to fly all the way up there, but then you hook up with someone who was okay down here with a chicken mindset, trust me, it will stop you. Because flying takes strength, and you can only fly when you are light. You can carry burdens and fly to heights. And I'm trying to tell you, I'm not calling people chicken and eagles and whatever. This is about the mindset. What do you believe about yourself? Some of us have huge goals and huge dreams. But then, because of pressure from family, pressure from the society, we pick up anybody and hook up with them. Now, what you don't know, those desires within you, those aspirations, those things that you believe you can change, that's God showing you the level he expects you to be at by the time you will get finished on this earth. Now, you have big dreams, but down here, because of things and circumstances that are happening, you hook up with someone who all they want is a cute house and a nice car and a cute dress, and they are satisfied. Yet, you are a world changer, you are a game changer, you are a shaker and a mover. And you hook up with that person and expect that you will drive them to your kind of thinking. Trust me, you have lost some power already. because you cannot change a person. This person believes in a certain level. Where do you believe you are supposed to be? Crows go up to a certain level. They can't go past that. But then eagles go all the way to the top. Those are the people that change the world. Those are the people that make serious investments, that become employers to other people. They start international businesses. They change big things. They make big moves. And some of us were created to do great things in this life. But because of, my society says, I need to get married by the age of 25. 27 is too late. And now you pick up anybody. Because you don't know who you are. You don't know what level you are called to go. And now you pick up someone who also don't know where they're supposed to go. And then when you're in the marriage, you're so frustrated because you dreamt to go higher. But then you hooked up with someone who is okay right here. And when you hook up with that person, what they do is drag you down. You try to fly and they pull you down. Because they cannot see at the level that you see. They cannot think at the level that you think. And so the reason why, especially if you're single, the reason why you should figure out who you are and why you are here. And that can only come when you connect with God. God will show you who you are. God will show you why he placed you here. And from that knowledge point, then you can pick a mate who is going in the same direction as you. Because trust me, it doesn't matter how many dreams you have and how big they are. If you hook up with someone who is supposed to be on ground level, you can't take them anywhere. The highest you can go is maybe settle as a crow, because you have to carry your weight and their weight. That's deep, and maybe we should talk about that another day. But I know somebody needed that, because they woke me up at early morning. God woke me up with that suggestion in mind. It's very important. There are so many people who are frustrated in their marriages right now because they married someone because he is cute, she is cute, and now what you didn't know, inside that person, all they wanted was bare minimum in life. But God has placed great dreams and great mind in you, great desires. You're supposed to be an employer. You're supposed to have a ministry that touches the world. You're supposed to do great things in life. But in the moment of weakness, in the moment of frustration, you pick someone and they become your downfall. And now you are frustrated because you feel like if it was not for this person I married, I would have gone higher. Now you're frustrated because you either have to jeopardize your marriage to reach your purpose, or you have to take care of your marriage and stay down here with the chicken mindset while you are supposed to go up in. And now you're supposed to just watch the eagles fly by you. And every time an eagle fly by you, because they went after their purpose and they are doing the great things that God put in your own heart, you feel cheated. You feel this is the person. And some of the people today secretly despise and hate their spouse because they feel you stopped me from going any further. I'm trying to drag you up and you're dragging me down. So be careful. Find who you are. And the only way you can find that is by connecting with God. So let God show you enough before you even make a decision to settle with anybody. Let God show you who you are. Because when he shows you, and those dreams that you have even, you fear to share with other people because they seem crazy, they seem out of place. Other people might not understand them. Then when you share with them, you can't even share. You don't even find anybody to share with because they are so major. And one of the way to know that you are supposed to be a changer, a world changer, is because you don't fit in very well with many people. Their mindset irritates you. They think at this level and your mind is up there. Now, whoever you marry, whoever you get married to, they can either make you or break you. So it's not just about domestic violence. We have been called to change this world. And at the level that God created you to change, if you don't connect with the right person that will lead you to that level, because now when God created Adam and gave him Eve, Adam already knew his assignment. Take care of this Eden. Take care of these animals. And now Eve only came to assist him. Now, especially as a man, if you don't know who you are and where you are going, and now you bring a woman along, you just brought a whole lot of confusion in your life. Because now none of you know where you are, none of you know where you are going, and so it's just pressure and confusion. My time is gone. But listen, this is deeper. Marriage is not for show off. Marriage is not just for us to have some cute kids. Marriage is not so we can have sex anytime we want to. It's way deeper than that. It's meant to do better and more than that. Because when I get hold with someone who is already destined to do whatever he's destined, and I figure out we are in the same mindset, we think of the same great things, and together we are a force to reckon with. But when I am with someone who is pulling me backwards, any step I take forward, he pulls me backwards. Trust me, it's gonna be tough for me to go anywhere in life because I have to keep pulling myself. I'm using too much of my energy to detach from this person's pull or to pull myself forward with them, holding on to me, as compared to the energy that I would have used to soar into the great heights that I'm meant to be. So be careful. Whoever you hook up with will determine at how much you can do, what level you can go to. And if you're a big dreamer, especially, be it a man or a woman, that you have to take extra caution. Because men, whoever you hook up with, cute or not, handsome or not, it doesn't matter. If you don't have the same mindset, you can kiss your dreams goodbye or you can kiss the marriage goodbye. It's gonna be one or the other. So many people have given up on marriage to pursue their dreams. But even more people have given up on their purpose to keep their family. But they stay frustrated. They stay angry. They stay mad. They stay mad at their spouses because they look at them and I say, man, what was I thinking marrying this person? What was I thinking bringing her into my life? I know I would have been better. I would have done more if I never brought this person into my life. And so that's a side note. Be very careful who you bring into your life because that person will either make you or break you. And with that, I'm gonna call it a day. I went way too long today, but I hope this word and whatever we learn today will bless someone. Thank you, Alfonso. Thank you, Mokuhe. Thank you, Priscilla. Thank you, Mary Gadanga, Maureen Mwagi Wagio Jao. Thank you so much, Peter Kim. Thank you for everyone that joined. Thank you so much for giving me company. Thank you for sharing this video, sharing it with your loved ones and your friends. Antone, Kiama, Mukuhi, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. I'll check it out. I'll check it out, Mukuhe. So I pray that you have a blessed day and a blessed week ahead. Share this video with someone, especially single young people, also married people, because there's also a chance we can make our marriages what they were meant to be, and we can go to the heights God called us to. But we have to be intentional to do that. Pray for my throat. I talked a lot today, but God is awesome. I love you guys, but God loves you best. Share this video. I will see you Sunday, same place, same time. Bye. Have a beautiful week.